Hey guys, I made myself some tea. I tried just doing lavender tea, but I started missing the caffeine pretty much immediately, so I added green tea. If you hear meowing, it's my cats. Loki is already protesting that he's not getting attention, and Moxie is outside of this room, so I'm expecting in a few minutes she will complain. But I made a list of questions. Let me see if I can find it. For like moving to Japan, and like kind of like some questions that I thought would be fun or worthwhile to answer. Hi Loki. Can I answer these questions real quick? All right. So I'm just going to go down the list of questions that it populated, whatever they are, and then kind of give my feedback on them and like how they apply it to me. I think everybody's situation is slightly different, but maybe it'll add some perspective. I know before we moved here, we tried a lot of different things. We did a lot of research. I have 2 degrees. I have an associate's degree and I have a bachelor's degree. So that made me eligible for some of the teaching programs that Japan offers. So I considered doing that. I even did some interviewing for it. I applied for the JET program. I wrote an essay for it and everything. They didn't select me. I had references and everything. They didn't select me. So I was pretty disappointed with that at first. Then I did another interview with a teaching company. I did like a video interview and like recorded myself introducing myself in Japanese and everything. They didn't pick me. I think they pretty much ghosted me, so there's no explanation for that. I think JET just had way too many candidates and a lot more qualified candidates than myself, because my background is not in teaching. Like my background is in marketing and advertising and art. I mean, maybe if I was an art teacher. Like I like teaching people, but it's not really like my #1 goal or passion. Who knows, maybe it could be something I'm super good at, but like I like applying that maybe more to like something that's more artistic or like exercise. I do love teaching people like sport or fitness related activities, but just not, I can't see myself as a classroom teacher really. I don't know, maybe I could be good at it. I don't know, you know? Sometimes people have perceptions of what something could be, but then it's not really like that. So I don't know, I could go either way on it. Anyways, I'm rambling. So I did all of that, and then I ended up getting the job that I have now, which is a logistics job. I have a background in logistics outside of my formal education, which I've done for about 1 year. But as of a couple of days ago, I resigned from that position. It just wasn't a good fit for what I'm looking for myself for right now. And so now we are moving to Kanagawa, which I'm very, very, very excited about. But most of the excitement is bottled under, hey, Loki. Loki? No. He's like directly behind the camera too. Yeah, so most of the excitement right now is hidden under stress. Come here. Come here. Don't knock over the camera. Come here. All right. So the first question is, what are the visa requirements for living and working in Japan? That's definitely a question you would want to ask yourself. And how I solved that was my logistics job. Like I mentioned, that job allowed me to live and work in Japan, and it also allowed me to live and work in Japan with my husband and thankfully with my pets too. Question is, what are the costs of living and how are they different in different parts of Japan? How do they compare with your current location? Okay, so anyways, we were talking about cost of living. The cost of living here in Iwakuni is lower than the cost of living in Texas, which is where we moved from. So the cost of living is not really a huge issue. I guess the main thing is like if you need certain resources, that you're used to in your home country, they may not always. This piece of paper is kind of important. Please don't stand on it. Please don't rub on the camera too much. You're gonna knock it over. It's in a precarious position. Oh my gosh. I knew that was gonna happen. I literally knew that was gonna happen. I don't know why, out of all the pets that we have, Loki is the one that loves the camera. But it still is sometimes difficult to get certain resources or things that like you may be used to. So it depends. If you want something specific, like you need a specific product to care for your hair, you may not be able to find it here in Japan, so you may have to buy it from the States and then ship it here. And the same goes for some other things, I'm pretty sure. Like if you're really used to having those products, it may be tricky for you to gain access to them without going through the additional steps of shipping them from someplace else, wherever you're from, and then paying the cost of that if it's like a must-have item. So just keep that in mind. And also it depends on where in Japan that you live. How difficult is it to find employment in Japan if you don't speak Japanese fluently? I think it really depends on your background. And this question, I think, from my perspective, right? Like I'm not an expert on this, but from my perspective, I would think it would be fairly easy to get a teaching job if you have any sort of bachelor's degree or 4-year degree from like an accredited university. I think that will be very helpful for you in getting a teaching job. But other than that, unless you are like really, really skilled or I don't know, I think it might be a little bit difficult if you don't really speak much Japanese. I think if you speak strong Japanese, or at least maybe a little bit above where I'm at, I think it could be easier. And then I also think it depends on where you are looking and who you know. I think a lot of people here are very kind and generous, and if they can kind of like understand your perspective and understand like your vision and the value that you could add, I think they would definitely take somebody on board who did have some linguistic struggles. But I think you would have to be in the right rooms with the right people in order to get those sort of opportunities. I think it's possible, I just think it may be more difficult than you might expect. What are some cultural norms and customs to be aware of to successfully integrate into Japanese society? Again, I would say I'm kind of like at the novice level for this. But I think the number one thing I would recommend to anybody who wants to come to Japan is study Japanese. As much Japanese as you can learn before coming to Japan. Try and take that on board. Even if it's just please and thank you, really, really try and study Japanese. Yeah, I think this is something I'm still working towards. I want to speak Japanese at a native level, but I think that's gonna take some time yet. But I just think even the little bit of Japanese that I do speak, I've seen a positive change in my ability to adapt here just based on that. So I would highly, highly, highly encourage everybody to learn Japanese. Some norms and customs that I can think of. Let me think. Maybe sometimes people here are more gentle with their negative answers or responses. Is where I came from, but that doesn't mean they mean them any less. You know what I mean? Like a soft no. Soft no is more popular than no here. So I think kind of like understanding that and being respectful of it is important. But just the culture in Japan is pretty much the opposite of that in the States. So understanding that will get you a long way. And I think that's about all of the questions I can try and formulate right now. But yeah, after being in Japan for 1 year, I definitely feel like I have experienced a lot that I didn't expect to experience. And it's been both very difficult and very rewarding. And yeah, I'm optimistic for the future, so we'll see how that goes. Loki, you have something to add? Can you sign off without knocking the camera down again? Say bye! So I have a lot of footage of prepping for the move, which is what this is. I prepped for the cats to fly to Kanagawa. I cleaned the house. I packed the car. Tried to eat kind of healthy. Tried to take care of myself, although I ended up getting sick. Bought more heat tech from Uniqlo. And just basically tried to stay sane, but it was actually probably the toughest move of my life, and I've had a few. So like, as you can see here, it got to me a lot. So when it was finally time to move, it was definitely bittersweet, and I don't know, just so much stress going on. And then here we go. I did a car inspection for my car before I moved. It was an 11-hour drive, so we did that. My dog stayed in a hotel briefly for like maybe 2 days or a day and a half. And then this is my hotel that I stayed in. We were renting, so our house had to be inspected before we could move out of it. So while the house was like in between my possession and the owner's possession again, before I formally handed it over. Once I cleaned the house professionally, like got it cleaned professionally, I moved out and then stayed in a hotel for a brief time. There's like some scenes in the beginning where the house is really empty and I'm still in the house, but that was just to cut costs because this move was completely self-funded, so it started to get kind of expensive. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. The hotel was kind of cool and pretty affordable too, so I was grateful for that. This is a truck stop that we went to along the route. It was a long drive and it was like really foggy and rainy and whatnot, so it wasn't the greatest weather, and honestly it felt like one of the longest drives of my life, so I was really happy for it to be over. But I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this moving footage, and then back to my outro. I am so happy to be in the new house. Like literally, I'm so happy. We finally made it. All of the crying and packing and moving and cleaning and hiring a cleaning service and the 11-hour drive with terrible weather. And now we're finally in Kanagawa Prefecture. And I'm so thankful. And if you guys watched this whole vlog, hopefully you liked it. And if you liked it, please subscribe, and hopefully I can do more long form videos like this one. Bye!